Poor boys on the coal train, from hand-to-mouth life. My train journey that started thanks to flu continued, from time to time after that day. When the train passengers were not many, when the weather was good and also when the conductor was less busy, that was the time I was excited about the train journey. On that day I felt as if I became a little princess. I wore a pretty dress and my hair was braided in pigtails, that even my grandmother could braid instead of grandpa. My mom sent me new sneakers and new socks with the neck part folded down. I also brought a handkerchief that I had already taken care of. And I went to the station where Grandpa was working, holding the Andersen fairy tale book that I had read so many times in my left hand. The words I muttered like a habit when I was nervous, or realized that joy was coming next. Open Sesame, are called Genie of the Aladdin's magic lamp. I still do that habit sometimes. Once, I told GPT, "You're just same as Genie of the Aladdin's lamp." The answer was, "I don't know who Genie is, anyway I'm not Genie." I just said that because you always showed up, when I asked and answered my questions. I wrote like this then erased it. What an emptiness. The station got closer but Grandpa was nowhere to be seen. He told me to come before lunchtime, but he must be busy. I couldn't open the station master's office door and was just wandering around when the conductor came. He said, "Oh Yin Wu, you're here. Let's go inside," and opened the station master's office door ahead of me and went in, and I followed him. The small kettle on the stove was still on, and behind it 4 boys were kneeling, raising their hands above their heads, being punished. I saw that posture as a punishment at school, and I saw the boys who had been running around the hallway and getting scolded by their teacher, sitting in a row, in the hallway with their hands above their heads, for a long time. We watched them as I walked back and forth, and one of the boys sitting down, muttered, "What are you looking at?" and glared me. The boys who were being punished in the station master's office had coal briquettes on their hands and faces, and their tops were even worse. The grandpa looked at the boys with a solemn expression. "Do you know what happens if you fall off the train? Tell me, come on." The boy near the window said, "I will die." Do you know what it means to die? As soon as the grandfather said this, the boys began to sob and cry. I quickly went behind the chair where the grandpa was sitting and hid myself. Stealing coal is theft. The coal loaded on the train is not mine, it is the country's property. If you steal the country's property, you will go to prison. What is worse than going to prison is dying or becoming disabled if you fall off the train. That is scarier. Do you understand? I didn't know why did I cry when I saw those boys. I cried too. But I couldn't sniffle. Everyone, put your hands down and wipe your tears. Grandpa said and asked, is it not cold when you're sitting next to the stove? But no one asked why they stole coal. Not even the grandpa or the conductor. The adults knew that the boys had to steal coal to eat and heat their rooms. It happened often. When I went to the market with my grandma, the merchants told her, the kids got on the train and fell down to deaths. 2 of them, yesterday. When the grandma heard that story, her expression became tearful. She kept saying, "Ara ma, ara ma." Arama means, what shall I do? Or, I don't know what to do. The train wasn't just only for passengers. Rice and peppers that were harvested from Grandpa's field, and brought in sacks also were transported by the train. Coal from the mountains also was moved by the train, to somewhere. The coal was powdered and loaded onto the train, and it was said that the boys from the village would board the train as it went up the steep mountain path. I didn't know whether the boys were picking up a handful of coal with their hands or using buckets, but it was heartbreaking to see them riding the train to steal coal instead of adults. The boys didn't cry for much time. They were still sitting by the stove, and their faces were flushed, perhaps because they were wiping their tears. Grandpa made a warning to the children that if something like this happened again, the police would come here and told them to go back. I couldn't bear to watch the boys open the door and go out. I couldn't think the boys who had to go to prison and had to go through a big problem with the police, and I also felt a little hurt listening to my grandpa's words. For no reason. There is a small pharmacy at the entrance to the market. I was in the same class as the daughter of the pharmacist. I went to the pharmacy to meet my classmate, although not often. When I went, she took out 2 or 3 vitamin pills called 1G ISO in a white, round container and gave them to me to try. 1G ISO was like the rice powder my grandma made, rolled up into a ball. No, it tasted even better. I put all 3 pills in my mouth and swallowed them, but the pills mixed with my spit and stuck to the upper part of my mouth. I thought my friend who gave me 1G ISO would felt embarrassed, so I lowered my head, put my finger in, and took the 1G ISO from my mouth and swallowed it as if nothing had happened. I wanted to drink water, but I couldn't say that. I probably had tears welling up in my eyes. If anybody took 1G ISO once, it could be imagined how hard time I had. There were many books in the living room behind the pharmacy. Wow. Books with colorful covers often made me open the pharmacy door and go in. The children's magazine, Shoulder Comrades, enchanted me. That pretty book lingered in my mind even when I came home. I didn't have the courage to ask Grandpa to buy me that book. I just opened the pharmacy door and went in often. My grandma told me sternly. I had to say goodbye to my friend at the pharmacy when it was time to eat and then come back home. Even if my friend's mother told me to eat and go, I had to tell her, I'll get in trouble. Grandma told me several times. One day, I was deeply engrossed in a pretty cartoon serialized in Shoulder Comrade's children's magazine when my friend's older sister whispered to me. A boy got crushed by a train and died this morning. But his mother and father didn't come and he's still there. Do you want to go see it? I suddenly remembered the 4 boys I saw in my grandpa's office. When we left the pharmacy, we didn't rush out in a hurry, so the sister and I and my friend came out one by one. This was the sister's order. The sister seemed to already know where the place was. The end of the market above the pharmacy was close to the railroad crossing. There were already people gathered. There were more children than adults. In the distance, I saw a sack in the gravel and dry grass next to the railroad tracks. At the end of the sack, I saw black rubber shoes. The boys wore black rubber shoes in winter and summer. The black rubber shoes were carried in a sack from the factory in Busan to my father's shoe store by train. I thought that the black rubber shoes were carried in a sack by train and were carrying the boy's life again. Maybe that's what I thought. No one cried when they saw that scene. Everyone tightly shut their eyes and mouths as they looked at the coal dust scattered around the dead child. We did the same. That boy I saw in my grandpa's office. I prayed that his face, which was dripping with tears but couldn't be wiped away with the back of his hand and was mixed with snot and flowing down, wasn't the same face covered by that sack. Sob. I went back to the scene with my friend. Just the 2 of us. Why didn't I know how to say goodbye then? I think I went to say goodbye. Just the 2 of us. My friend said, the boy must have bled. He must have been in pain. I'm telling him now, goodbye, goodbye, to a place without poverty. To a place where you won't be cold or hungry even if you don't steal coal. Goodbye.